and welcome back to Just Another Stitch. For those that don't know me, my name is Connie, and if you're new to my channel, I'd like to welcome you. Today, I am going to show you how to do color work with knitting. And this is just a sample swatch that I made. I basically knitted up 3 rows in the round. I cast it on 70 stitches. And I'm using 5mm circular needles, and it's the 9-inch. But based on the pattern you use or what you're trying to make, that can change. But I just want to let y'all see how you would do this. Okay, so I've knitted 2 stitches on this row in blue. Okay, so now I'm going to be bringing in my next color of yarn. Okay, so I start off inserting my right needle into the stitch. Okay, like I'd be doing the knit stitch. Then you wrap your new color around the right needle like this, and you want to hold it tight because it's going to be loose, and you just continue that knit stitch. Okay, and now I'm going to do another knit stitching. Okay, and another. Okay, and typically with color work, if you're doing, you can do about 3 stitches without having to carry your floats. And that's what I'm going to show you first in this tutorial. So now I want to bring the blue back in. And you also want to make sure that you stitch on the loose side so you don't have a real tight tension with your hat. Okay, so here's the blue. So I'm bringing that blue back in, and I just do the knit stitch. And I'm going to do 3 stitches. Okay, and now I want to go back to the gray. So I insert the hook and then bring the gray back around like this. And you also want to make sure you don't tangle your yarns. Okay, and now I'm going back to the blue. I just pick up the blue like this. Okay, and now I'm going to go back to the gray. I just insert the hook like this, and I pick up my gray and I wrap the gray around. Okay, and now I'm going back to the blue. I insert my hook, grab my blue, wrap it around, and then I just continue knitting. Okay, and it's really not that hard. And I want to point out something. You see on the back right here, that's what's called a float. And when you're doing color work, you don't want really long floats. Like say you're knitting 6 in one color, and then you're changing to another color that you're going to be doing 6 in that color. Well, that float's going to get really long, and it's going to start messing with the tension of your hat. So what you'll do is carry your float. Okay, okay, so now I want to have 6 stitches in the blue. Okay, and I already have 3, and there are different techniques when it comes to doing color work, but I'm going to show you the technique that I like to do. So what you do is you insert your hook And then you're going to wrap the yarn that you don't want to use, which is the gray yarn, around the right needle. Then you take your blue, which is the color that I want, and I wrap it around. So then now I'm going to take this gray and unwrap it like that, okay? And I'm going to finish the stitch. And as you see on the back side, how it's carrying that yarn right here, how it connects, so I won't have as long of a float. And I would recommend doing that about every third or fourth stitch when you're doing long bursts of color work in the same color. Okay? So then I just continue doing my next 2 stitches. Okay? So now I want to bring the gray yarn back in. So I grab my gray and I bring it in. So I'm going to do 3 stitches. Okay. And now on this 4th stitch is where I want to carry the blue back up so I don't have the long float. Okay. So what I do is I take my blue, I wrap it around. Okay. That's the yarn I'm not wanting to use. Then I take the yarn I want to use, which is the gray, and I wrap it around. Okay. Now I'm going to unwrap the blue. Okay. Now continue the stitch. And again, as you see, it carried it up. Okay. And then I'm going to do 2 more in the gray. And I'm going to do this a couple of more times so that y'all can see how it works. Okay. So with color work, if you're doing more than about 3 stitches in the same color, that's when you want to incorporate carrying the float, because you don't want the long floats. Okay. So now I'm changing back to blue. So I go into the stitch, like to knit, grab my blue yarn, and I continue the knit stitch. So that's 1, 2, 3. Okay. And like I said, after you knitted about three stitches, that's where you really want to pick up the floats. Okay. So now we're going to go in like we're going to knit. I'm going to grab that gray yarn, the color I don't want, wrap it around my right needle. Now I'm going to grab the color I do want, the blue, wrap it around. Okay. Now I'm going to unwrap the gray like that. And I'm going to finish my stitch. And again, as you see, it carried it up. Okay. So that's my 4th stitch. Five and 6. Okay, I'm going to show this one more time, and hopefully y'all have it. Okay, so now I want to change back to the gray, and we're going to do 6 stitches again. Okay, you go into the stitch like to knit. I grab my gray yarn, I bring it over, and I complete the knit stitch. So that's 1, 2, and 3. So now I'm at the point where I want to carry my float. So we're going to go in like to knit. I'm going to grab my blue yarn and I'm going to wrap it around like that. Okay, now I'm going to grab my gray yarn and wrap it around. Now I'm going to take the blue yarn and unwrap it. And now I'm going to continue the stitch. And again, as you can see in the back, it brought the blue yarn up right here. Okay, and then you just continue doing the final 2 stitches. And that's really all there is to doing color work. So now y'all see how to do color work and knitting.